Well, howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, a podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Well, howdy, and welcome back. We are going to talk about a really big topic here that is on everyone's mind lately, and that is SEO dead? Okay. I've been in the SEO industry since 1998, and I can tell you, I can't even put on two hands how many times that topic has come up, or even my feet, for that matter. Right. It comes up every single year and has, but I think honestly, it might be a little bit of a threat this time around. And so let's just jump right into that. Who wants to go first and jump into this topic here?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, like Chris, I've been in the SEO space for going on 20 years, and it's something like there's always new things that come around. And but like Chris said, is AI in general a new credible threat? There a lot of the news and chatter we're hearing is about AEO, which is answer engine optimization, because now, as things are shifting, we all have access on our mobile phones or on our computers. Just think about it. You literally can pull out your mobile phone and you're talking to an AI assistant or an LLM of some sort that you're just having a conversation with. You can ask for recommendations. You can ask for so many different things. It can plan a trip for you. It can, make your reservations for a restaurant. I mean, it's mind-boggling how crazy it's getting right now and where it's going to go. So I think all of us on the call are seeing what's happening. But do we truly know where it's going to go? I mean, even Google's putting out different press releases and different meetings and different things that they're talking about of, yes, it's changing. So I think we just open it up to the forum here because we've got 5 experts here of what's happening for the AI world for marketing, and then see where it goes.
Yeah, I was going to jump in and just say I think it's context as well, because we work with local businesses. So a lot of people listening to this show, I assume, are sort of in the local business world. There's a difference between local, whether you call it search or answers, I guess that becomes the AE versus SEO. People are still needing to find a roofer, a plumber, a custom shop, a carpet cleaner, and all of the above. And so they've always been searching. The answer part is a little bit more nuanced where, instead of just going, carpet cleaner near me, again, now they're going, hey, chat, just wondering. So I'm trying to get my carpets cleaned. And that becomes the old days of keyword. It becomes the search. But at the end of the day, where they do it doesn't matter. The fact that they are still trying to find the service provider, and businesses that are running businesses still need to find the people that are looking for them. It's just the world of marketing always changes and adapts. There's times that you needed to be in the newspaper, you needed in the yellow pages, and even if you did have a digital presence as that showed up, and you need to be on social media now. But what is social media? How do you need to do it? Is that changing? Well, yeah, now you need short form content and videos. And again, you're a business owner just listening to me going, what did you just say? Well, again, that's the changing landscape. And we talk about it all the time and learn it and do it for our clients, our business, and try and stay on top of it. But the answer is, are people still going to the internet to try and find service providers for those, or answers to their questions that they can buy a product or a service to solve? And that is still a yes. Even search on your phone is still an internet connected device. So where is it getting its information from? Well, it's getting its information from the rest of the internet. So there is still an internet presence and marketing and services. It's just, is it specifically in Google? Is Google getting threatened? Are they scared? Yeah. But, and they'll adapt to it. And a recent report just said that Google's starting to put, paid ads in the AI generated search. Why? Because Google only makes money selling paid ads. So, they built their entire platform, got all the eyeballs and said, oh, now we're going to make money from you. So now that if they're losing money, that's a problem. That's when Google's going to respond, and we'll see where they take it. But, other platforms are going to go, well, we're going to try and now become the new big boys in town and stuff like that. Businesses need to know that all of it is changing faster and faster than ever. And we just have to stay on top of it. And you have to have good providers that are actually staying on top of it as well and have great conversations, because as Brad said, none of us have a crystal ball and even know what next month, let alone next year, is going to look like.
100%.
I would say that yes, Google will maybe remain the big player in the room for a long time, especially I know in the ag industry, that is just a common place for people to open up as a search engine, or one of the common ones. And I think we need to start thinking of SEO as search everywhere optimization, not just a search engine optimization. And, obviously that's a phrase that's been out there for a few moments of time. But what we're looking at is, as they are figuring out, ChatGPT will allow them solutions faster versus going to a search engine that they have to click in through several links in order to really dive in and research. If they're able to actually, matter of fact, take a picture of that tire, show what you're going to need. We did it this week with a lawnmower, needed a replacement tire and rim that had a certain pop out. It was easy to take that photo, ask ChatGPT, hey, where are we able to replace this to have a full unit, not just a tire, but we need the rim. It's amazing. So I see that in agriculture, it's going to be a huge game changer, but that's a conversation we're able to have with our clients, that their websites are even more valuable because that's where we put the information in order for it to be presented through the AI. Mm-hmm. So yes, it still helps with the search engine optimizations or search everywhere optimization, but it helps with AI being able to present specifics, as well as they don't have to ask near me. It's going to say, hey, you needed this parallel arm. Here's the providers that have it because it's listed on their website, and they're able to click right through.
I think that would tie into having FAQs, or frequently asked questions, on your website as well, because that's going to get picked up, and that's going to, whether that it's a snippet or however it's going to show up in search or AI search or whatever it is. I mean, Google obviously has AI results now too. The things that we're doing now aren't going to go away, but things are going to continue to shift.
Yeah. With FAQs too, I think it's important to remember that, for you guys who've been doing SEO for like 20 plus years, I know you guys remember when FAQs were really just keyword stuffed content that, got added to, all these different pages and everything. And for a long time, it's been improving, from that. But even more important now is that the questions that are in your FAQ, they are really legitimate questions that not only are people searching for, but same AI will also pick up on that for when people are searching for those things. So the questions that websites are using for the FAQs are more important than ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think just on a broader topic level, right, is coming and from the standpoint of, okay, so search engine optimization and answer optimization, it's the same idea here, right? And it's really one of the things that I talked about in my book. And this is the reach pillar, right? This is getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday, right? And as things stop working, okay, Yellow Pages, John, you mentioned the Yellow Pages. When I first went into business, everybody in the entire, Chamber of Commerce here in College Station, Texas said, you need to have a Yellow Pages ad. So guess what? I did. But I tracked it. All right. I had a geek, business partner that was like, hey, let's track this. Right. And this is before tracking numbers were even really popular. We came back after a year when that sales guy came back around, because that's what they did. You could only talk to him once a year. You could only change your ad once a year. When he came back around, we had 0 phone calls. So I'm like, no way am I spending $600 a month on a wasted ad, kind of a thing. But that's part of, like, that never was part of for our system, right? Part of the reach pillar at all. It was always Google, and Google for the past 20 years has completely dominated, right, the search world, right? And honestly, if you look at their stats now, they're still dominating the search world, right? When you look at the stats for ChatGPT and for any other LLM that's out there right now, they still haven't even come close to really, really hurting Google on that side of things. Okay. And when I say that, they're less than 1% of all search traffic. Okay. In all the statistics, if you go and look and you research and look at that, it's not really hurting Google yet. It's going to, right? I think so. I firmly believe that Siri is going to take over when it finally gets, really smart. If they actually just
AI in it and not just,
right,
exactly.
Right. When it can actually understand what the heck I'm talking about. I'm Texan and yeah, I know I have an accent, but geez, it just really does not get what the heck I'm talking about a lot of times. So, but when it gets real smart, right, Google's going to be in big trouble because you've got the number one, $1,000 machine sitting in everybody's pocket with AirPods. And when they can say, hey, Siri, find me the best roofer near me. I'll make sure this isn't actually turning on here. When that can actually work, the Google's in for a big shock, I think. So that's my prediction.
What do you think with Google? Because I think at this point, it's not other platforms that are getting in the way of Google today necessarily, but I think that in ways Google is getting in the way of Google in that we have been talking about getting traffic to websites through Google, and now a lot of those. A lot of people aren't actually clicking all the way through to websites because they're seeing the AI overview. And so I'd love to get your input on that.
I'll just chime in because I was talking about this recently with a client. So when you've got an AI overview, but you're still looking for something, like say in your world, Jen, like a med spa or something like that, you're still looking for some information, but there's a point at which you've got to know where to go or what you're going to do next. The marketer, now goes back to sophisticated marketing. Like we had a world where you could rank really, really well with 10,000 backlinks from Russia, the early 2000s. Cheap backlinks were cool. Cheap clicks became cool, all the thing. Cheap Facebook ads. Everything matures to a point where it becomes more expensive, and the most sophisticated marketer always wins. Dan Kennedy, number 101. If you can spend more to buy a customer than your competitors, and be profitable because you've got a great back end on it, then you win in the marketplace. So there is still, when you finally get to the point of, okay, who am I deciding between? Who am I going to call? How do I enter into their world? Whether that's a free report, a download, a funnel, a phone number with a call tracking, whatever it presents, are you marketing well enough that becomes a capture the name, address, phone number, retargeting source, stay in touch with them, share them happy customer stories, and go. So whether they ever make it to your website where you kind of hub all this stuff, does it really matter anymore? Can you make it into their inbox? Can you make it into like a text message string? Can you give them some value? Can you outreach because you captured them at that point? And is your marketing company thinking in those lines, or were they just really good at ranking keywords, right? And things like that. So we as business owners, we just got to kind of reevaluate a proper marketing funnel that kind of wasn't as necessary with quantitative easing. I say this all the time as well. For the last, anybody who started business in, 2010, 11, 12 stood in front of a money stream and a middle class that had a whole bunch of money and just bought everything more and more. And you could just start a business, stand in front, run Groupon, make money, run, TikTok or Thumbtacks ads and only there make money, run Facebook ads, only make money. Prior to that, you needed to actually have a sophisticated funnel. You had to run a good business and have a lot of poles in the water, as I like to call it. And I think now that things get a little bit tighter, a little bit tougher in the marketplace, in local economies and stuff like that, the best marketer is going to win again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to take a step back to what Chris was saying about Siri. Siri only applies to Apple. I don't remember the stats, but I'd say at least 50% of the universe has an Android phone. which is a Google phone essentially. And the other piece of that is Google Gemini is now on your phone. And even to restart your phone, you have to tell Google Gemini, for the most part, to restart your phone. But the point is we control, for me personally, I control the lights in my house and the alarms and ask it things all the time because we're being forced to, in a way. Like, I know my wife, she's like, oh my God, what is this now? I don't even know how this works. So I think everybody's going to have to adapt to a certain extent. We don't know what Siri is going to do. We don't know what Google Gemini is going to do. But like I said earlier, it's just continuing to shift, and it becomes something where it'll have to be simple for people to use, because there's a lot of people out there that are not very technical. And so to not confuse them, it's going to have to get even simpler, because there's a lot of people out there that are just completely overwhelmed by something new. Now it's all AI, and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I mean, I see it all around me. For us being technical people, it's not nearly as challenging. We're more like, hey, let's check this out. We'll adapt to it. But it's got to be something simple. And again, we don't know where it's going to go, but I'm pretty sure that Google has got many things up their sleeve of how it's going to adapt. They're going to find a way, like was said earlier, if they're putting ads in AI results and different things, they're going to continue to adapt, I believe, with how AI is going to fit into their ecosystem and how it's still going to produce money, income for Google. But it'll be interesting to see where it all goes.
RoofingSites.com. Since 2018, RoofingSites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to RoofingSites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. So then the question then comes up of, okay, so how do we as marketers adapt, right? And when do we adapt?
True.
Yeah. Like, remember that? So a few months ago, I shared that AI automation fellow, Liam, and it just happened to be a video he was doing. And it was just, it caught my attention because it was a carpet cleaning example. And I thought it was hilarious. A guy's walking on the beach with a dog. All of a sudden, his Google glasses. So now it becomes like Google's going to try and keep up. So he was saying, imagine this in 2030. I think 2030 is too far out. Actually, I think it's going to be sooner than that. And he is, hey, honey, so the kids knocked over a glass of wine or whatever it was. Can you find us a carpet cleaner? Right. And just a second, he's walking the dog.
Those babies knocking over wine.
Yeah. Right. And it's exactly. Yes.
We'll go with grape juice.
and so he talks to his glasses and said, hey, I'm going to need to find a carpet cleaner. Can you check around and get back to me? And then he carries on with his walk. And then he's sitting down at a cafe having a little coffee. And hey, I've his AI assistant. Again, Google's going to want to be the front runner in that with their devices and their technology. So therefore, it would have been a Google connection, right? Maybe there's going to be other players trying in, but again, Google's going to try and stay ahead because they are the big player, and they're deep into all of this anyways. But it doesn't really matter what platform agnostic. And it went out and found in the marketplace, it did a voice call. It probably by this point was talking to another AI agent, whatever, but it went out and found pricing and availability and scheduling and all that kind of stuff as if it was a real assistant, or like a real human assistant, came back with a list of different options. And again, as us as marketers, businesses as business owners, how do you influence? Well, this guy's the cheapest. Well, if you don't really care, that's a commodity. Yeah, sure, cheap. This guy's the best and got the best reputation, got the best reviews, has got happy customer stories marketed throughout the entire social ecosphere. And, so you can go with the cheapest guy, or you can go with the one that seems to be the preeminent, but you might have to pay a little bit more. And now the consumer can make that decision. Do I care about it enough? And can ask some questions. Well, what do you mean by that? And go back and forth. So you have to influence the assistant as well, right? So, it just makes, you've got to be a better marketer at the end of the day to run a business anyways. You are in the marketing business first, the marketer of your services, everything else is second to get customers.
John, I'll also put out there that means you actually have to be offered up by those assistants. So again, if you're not working with your agency, your digital agency, or having these conversations or reviewing what's out there with their digital footprint, you could be missing the boat 100%. And then also based on all of the conversations about voice, we have to remember that even though it may not be something that our age group or, different age groups are gravitating to first now, we got to think about the other generations that's all they know is the voice recognition. So the ordering of stuff through their Alexas or any of their devices is so second nature to them. They don't even think about it. Where right now we're like, hey, did you check AI for that answer? Hey, did you check this or whatever? If we're going around doing our typical day-to-day stuff. So I think there's a lot of, there's no wrong area to get started. You may want to select the right area, but I think the number one thing is just to start somewhere to make sure that you are in this game, and not just waiting and being further behind.
100%. Yeah.
I think the other part of it too, and is no matter where it shifts, no matter how things evolve, is local businesses of any sort of business, they really have to focus on their brand, because the more they focus on their brand and the more they focus on making people aware of who they are and doing all the different things that we've been doing in online marketing for many years, whether it's social media, whether it's video, whether it's FAQs on your website, having a professional website, keywords, backlinks, all these different things that we've done, it still all ties to the brand, and having a brand voice, having something that's identifiable is going to go a long ways, I believe.
Yeah.
Grassroots too. Be out in the community. Flipping hamburgers and pancakes, is always my example, because I used to do that at the chamber and stuff like that. I joined all the things, and you'd stand beside the guy that is the BMW dealership general manager, and but all of a sudden you start getting known in the community as well. It's not all just digital. In most local businesses, it's you're a store owner. Show up at the flea markets and have a booth, and like your brand awareness is not just online as well. As techno as we go, there's a huge need to jump back and be more grassroots, more in the old school way of doing things as well. So,
100%. So, Jen, what are your thoughts on this whole thing here?
The whole thing. Well, I always same that Chris. I'm sorry, same that Brad was just saying, and John. Brand. Like, I feel like it has to go to brand. You have to work on your entity. One of the things that comes up for me is how can I help my clients who don't want to be like the face of their business? They don't want. It's almost like they don't want to give their business personality. I don't really want to say it like that, but that's kind of what it is. They're like, no. I just market the business. I don't want you to do anything with me. And so I think that finding ways around that now, when it's, maybe more important than ever, can be challenging. I don't know if that really answered your question, but that's what I was thinking about when you asked. So
yeah.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think authenticity, right, comes into play here with when we're talking about AI and AI search, right? And really that's the topic here. I think that authenticity, the more authentic you are in things like this right here, we're real, right? These are real people. We are real people doing real content, right? For our businesses, for ourselves. And the more that you can demonstrate that you are real and that you are doing those types of things, that comes into play into all of this as well. Okay. Content comes in all sorts of different forms. Video, I think, trumps everything, right? Yeah. And that's just because I'm a big believer in video. If you follow any of us on this panel, we all believe it, right? Because it gets people to know, like, and trust you in a lot faster way. Okay, if that makes any sense. Text is also good. And that's what Google in the past has consumed. And that's what I've been preaching for years and years and years, 20 plus years to my clients, is that we have to have what Google actually consumes. And that's text, right? For the most part. Well, now it's starting to consume content in a whole bunch of different ways. So let's talk and dig deeper into actually how do we do this using AI, okay, and how do we influence the LLMs, right? Chat GPT, Perplexity, Gemini, all of these different Grok, I guess, let's throw Grok in there, right? And Facebook, Meta's got their own AI that honestly, I don't really use at all, but, but let's talk about how do we influence and get our customers. And if you're a small business owner listening to this, how do you influence and get yourself in front of any of these LLMs?
Well, I guess the thing that came up to my mind, is asking any of the LLMs, what do you know about? And actually ask them what they know about you. What do they know about your brand? And that is somewhat a very eye-opening. And to Jen's point, a lot of our clients are very content to be off screen, very content to be behind the scenes. They just want to provide the best customer care and service face to face, and they don't need to be the face of the company per se. But if they put in, there was a time where everybody say, have you Googled yourself? Well, now we're going to ask, have you put yourself into AI and ask, and, actually try each of them to see what comes, and again, push it. So just don't take that first answer. Ask, well, is there something else? Is there, see what it can present to you, and you may be pleasantly surprised, or it might be very eye-opening.
Yeah. There's a marketer once said there's like true point. There is a conversation happening in the marketplace about you and your business, whether you're involved in the conversation or not. So yeah, find out if what is that conversation, straight to Laura's point. There's also another marketer, like, I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago now, Mike Collings. I don't know if you guys remember him. Traffic geyser, but he had the 10-10-4 plan, but 10 questions that every customer asks, that, you can create a video on. 10 questions that they should ask, but don't know to ask, create a video on that. And then some of the other 4 was the conversion pieces and stuff like that, how to get them to show up and buy from you. And that was for digital marketing. It had nothing to do with local. That was literally just a sort of like a digital marketing strategy. But it made sense everywhere. And the FAQs, to Brad, this just all ties together. It's like, if you can be video answering those questions, or film your team, or film your office staff answering the phones, and now you've got the text, Chris, because now everything can be transcribed, and everything's being transcribed for you, whether you want it or not anyways. And it's becoming content, all of that. And it all ties into the fact that the most prolific, and fastest growing folks and businesses and all on planet Earth right now are influencer based. So The Rock didn't make his money, jumping off of ropes or making funny movies. He's made his $1 billion empire, by being an influencer, and well known, and then attaching his tequila brand or whatever it is to it, and Ryan Reynolds and right. So and the Kardashian, Jenner crowd and all of that. That's the global. How do you micro that down to a local marketplace? And it's the authenticity, the authority, the expertise. Can you bring that into the marketplace, but in video form, and then allow that to be the content online that it consumes, but also the real know, like, and trust offline? Because people see that, they say, shucks, I want that person to do my tire change, right? Well, the guy might charge, $200 more than the other guy, but there's the authenticity there that makes you, the go-to expert in the marketplace.
Interesting. What are your thoughts, Brad?
Well, I think that as we're looking at shifts and we're looking at how things are evolving, as the experts for our clients, we need to stay on the cutting edge and look at ways to future-proof what is going to happen. Because again, we don't have a crystal ball, but we know things are shifting. So I don't think we take our eye off of what we're currently doing. Things have, we talked about this on the show before. As agency owners, things have shifted dramatically in our space. We're using AI in pretty much every part of our agency structure and tasks. And businesses are going to have to start adapting to that as well. And that's where we are here to help. But I think as the experts, saying, what do we do next? It's mainly just to stay focused on what's working now, but being very aware of what's happening in the future and how we're going to continue to adapt, because it's going to shift. We've been through shifts so many times in the marketing space, and I feel confident that it's an exciting time, and that, as any business owner out there, they need to look at hiring experts to manage these things for them, because it's going so fast. And if they try to, certainly there's going to be people that do it yourself and want to learn and those kind of things. But I still think it makes sense to have experts to handle your marketing for you, because it's a lot to keep up with.
100%. 100%. All right, Jen, what do you think? What do you think about all this?
Well, what came up for me just as soon as Brad was saying that about hiring experts and things like that. I know this is kind of a side note, but I was just talking with a small business owner recently, and he's a butcher basically, and he was saying, "Can you tell me how to do my marketing?" Well, I mean, that's the equivalent of you telling me how to butcher a grass-fed cow. Like, I can promise you, I'm not going to do it as well as you. I'm not going to come close to it. And so it's just like, can I do it? Yeah, probably. Is there going to be a lot of waste, a lot of mess, a lot of maybe injury? Maybe so it's like, you got to, I don't know, you got to know when to hire an expert. So, and a
niche specific expert, which was kind of to your point as well, like an influence that knows your topic. Everybody knows marketing. There's bro marketers and folks that come out of university and whatever else, and they know Google Analytics, they know marketing, they know this. But how does that work for a butcher? How does that work for a shop or in the ag business? No clue at all. The fact that when I met Laura, and I'm going, really? People that raise cows need marketing? It's like literally so what if they'd called the local marketing company downtown? Not you, right? And it's like, this is what we did for the bookstore, and this is what we do for, so yeah. And it's like, well, that doesn't work in ag, so it's like, you get, again, and as everything's changing, that's even becoming bigger, is that if they don't know the industry, they're not focused on the changes specific to the industry. And it's just faster and faster and faster. We're in a scary, an exciting, but scary world, because everything's just faster. We have to keep up faster. And so does the business owner, as we've been saying all the way along. So niche specific would be the takeaway from that as well.
100%. Yeah. So I've been really digging into AI search, right? For really since ChatGPT came out, that got me to really digging into that, right? So how long has that been? 18 months that it's been out? Something like that, right? So what we are finding is, and I'm a search geek, right? So I've been really focused for 20 plus years on Google, right? And so when ChatGPT came out, it really made me sit up and wonder, okay, well, and what got me to thinking about it is when you could download it to your phone, right? So what we have found is that essentially it's not, and it starts with your website. It's got to start with your website. Okay. It starts with what you tell everyone else what you do. Okay. It's got to start there. Number two, but it's the bigger pieces that I'm finding is that it's what others are saying about you. Okay. Have you put that content, and we've talked about this, right? Have you put that content out into other places, like your Chamber of Commerce, like the Better Business Bureau, like, in our industry, in the roofing industry, the NRCA, right? Or Roofing Contractors Association of Texas, if you're in Texas, right? What are those places saying about you? And additionally, it's coming down to reviews, right? I literally had and I think I told you all this last week. I had a roofer tell me straight to my face that reviews don't matter. And I struggled to not laugh, because I know what's coming, right? Is that ChatGPT, all of these AI tools are going to rely heavily on reviews. So if you don't have a review process strategy in place right now, you're screwed. I'm sorry to say that, but you better get it in place now. My client who went from 120 reviews this past year to 450 reviews, they're the ones that's going to kill it, right? They're the ones already. And I searched for metal roofing installation in whatever, wherever that they're at the other day. They popped up in the AI. Okay. And I think I'm a very firm believer as all those reviews that they have really focused on in the past year. So that's a lot of it. What are all these other places saying about you, and what's your reputation? And that's the base pillar of my marketing system is, what is your reputation?
Same. And I think it's important to remember the LLMs, when they are recommending businesses, they have to be getting a large portion of their information from the Google business profiles. And that, that's reviews, that's having, your profile optimized and all of the things that we already know and do. It's just that it's not necessarily just for people going, directly to them from Google anymore. It's, it's shifting.
And the
but
brand,
it's still
as you
there.
said, the brand, the entity. So again, if it goes there, again, we're not the days of backlinks and following, but you have all of your other services that link to your website, and you have service pages on your website and sub-services on your website, like the technical stuff now of what we do as topical authority content clusters and, but you also build out your brand entity, because we don't need a backlink anymore with an actual little piece of code on the Chamber of Commerce site that goes, oh, by the way, follow this, please, Mr. Bot, over to there and make that connection, because the AI and the LLMs go, I know you got a great brand. I can see it around. Like, it's just, there's a reason why it knows everything. It can come back with an answer in seconds on just about anything you ask, because it knows everything. You just got to give it the framework. So yeah, part of it is that brand, the brand we talked about earlier, and that entity SEO, or however we want to define the word, but your brand and your entity of your business has to have that reputation. And again, it just all does this. By the end of it, it's omnipresence marketing. At the end of the day, you got to online, offline, everything, and build good customers, build good stories, good reviews, good everything else, and tie it all together and let the AI find you that way.
100%. All right. We are coming up to our time limit here. Any parting thoughts before we jump off of this call?
The one thing that I'll jump in on, and I think that I'm blessed with agriculture, and because things seem to be seasonal and there's always there's never downtime, but because of seasons, they tend to understand it's time to review what we've got going on. And so I think that anytime you stop and say, okay, now's the time to review, what pages do we have out there? Do they still apply? Will they move me forward? Are we collecting those reviews? I think that plays such an important part, that we just cannot say, hey, we built it a few years ago, it's doing fine, my phone's still ringing, got my clients. I think that pretty soon, if you don't stay in front of that wave, it's going to be over you really quick.
I'll close with this one. I really think that as AI is shifting, that consumers now are really looking for concise answers to their questions. That's what it's tying into. So like you guys, like Jen was just mentioning, what have you, brand, reputation, all these things that have been important are just even 10 times more important now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else before we jump off here?
Not for me.
I think we nailed it.
All right. Well, I think so too. All right.
Yep.
Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with all of our guests, with Jen, with Laura, with John, with Brad. Of course, while you're out there, go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Check out our website at roofingsites.com. And while you're there, by the way, listen to other previous episodes. I think we've got like 150 of these types of episodes that you can go and listen to and get all sorts of tips and tricks about AI, about marketing, about all sorts of things. Okay. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I will send it to you for free. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free digital copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.